The Holocaust, known for being a mass genocide, had an immense impact on the American eugenics movement and its supporters, and through this, scientists were brought to realize the importance of factual, unbiased data through good research. Eugenics, meaning well-born, a word derived from Greek, is the study of human heredity. This was a field of science that came to be when Mendel and Darwin's discoveries in heredity and evolution were spread and applied to the study of human genetics. Welcome Joseph Desharnais, the superintendent of Western State Hospital. He had personally carried out forced sterilizations in the pre-Holocaust years and has a nice poem for you. This is the law of Mendel, and often he makes it plain. Defectives will breed defectives, and the insane breed insane. Oh, why do we allow these people to breed back to the monkey's nest to increase our country's burdens when we should only breed the best? Doctors were generally quite supportive of the movement itself. In the upper hierarchy of the government, eugenics was widely accepted as well. A prominent case that left a mark in history was the case of Buck v. Bell, taking place just 14 years before the Holocaust. Amongst the Supreme Judges, in a vote of 8-1, they upheld the constitutionality of the Virginian Eugenical Sterilization Act. This case showed how supportive the upper government was of sterilization. Eugenicists were, well, doing eugenicist things. They were vastly supportive of eugenics, of course. It was their job. Or were they? There were actually quite a few people who dabbled in the field of eugenics that spoke out warnings for their fellow eugenicists. For example, Albert E. Wujum in his book The New Decalogue of Science. Though it mostly contained things like eugenics is great and eugenics, a new vision of a race of better men. Though it was widely known for being supportive of eugenics, it also contained a few words of caution, stating that the human mind cannot go through such vast developments without enormous changes in its sense of duty. This stated that humans will need to better themselves alongside or before the development of eugenics should be implemented. Some eugenicists had already seen flaws in the leaders of the movement. Of those people, Raymond Pearl was one of them. Pearl had held the presidential title of the American Statistical Association in 1939. He had sent a letter to McCann, the founder of the popular American Mercury, which states his opinion. It has seemed to me for a long time that there's a dreadful lot of bilge talked by the self-constituted leaders of the eugenics movement. He had openly called out the leaders of the movement for being straight out wrong in their claims supporting forced sterilizations. Eugenics had the public goal of breeding superior humans. But Pearl continues in the November 1927 issue, saying that by superior people, whether individuals, classes, or races, seems always to be meant either by A, my kind of people, or B, people whom I happen to like. The eugenicists that were at the top of the movement were mainly those motivated through racist resolutions. In the Nazis' upcoming Holocaust, eugenics was rooted deeply in and inspired by American eugenics. Charles Matthias Goff wrote a highly received letter of praise to Urza Seymour Gosney, the founder of the Human Betterment Foundation. It stated that your work has played a powerful part in shaping the opinions of the intellectuals behind Hitler in this epoch-making program. Everywhere I sense that their opinions have been tremendously stimulated by American thought. You have really jolted into action a great government of 60 million people. This was reprinted in the 1935 annual report due to how well received it was. This showed that America was heavily involved with Nazi sterilization, though not in the context of the unexpected mass murder which the Holocaust brought. Then how did the Holocaust, under the new intentions of mass genocide, change them? It's 1941. The Nazis have their army long prepared, and the Holocaust starts. But what happens now? Most already know the horrific outcomes of this event, but they are seeing this unfold in front of their eyes. Harry H. Laughlin, a eugenicist of high standing in the movement, was the superintendent of the Eugenics Record Office. He was the first president of the Pioneer Fund, founded with a couple others a few years back in 1937 to support the eugenics movement. He claimed in front of Congress that 83% of Jews were feeble-minded according to their IQ tests, and lobbied for Jews to be forbidden entry to the US. So, they're a threat to our economy? Yeah. Okay. Laughlin, however, died in 1943, so he never lived to see the end of it, and was never able to let us know what his opinion may have changed to or have stayed the same. As more and more die to this horrific event, many people have tried to distance themselves from eugenics. According to a personal encounter with Muller, I first met Muller at Amherst in the early 1940s, just at the time when he had been told that he could not count on staying at Amherst. Muller, one of the outstanding scientists of our time, could not even find a job. Until the 1940s, Muller had studied eugenics in Russia, but started to try and distance himself from it after his return to the United States, taking up a new job and having difficulty maintaining it due to his eugenics study. Who is he? I think that was Paul Popneau. After the Holocaust, he quietly resumed his profession of counseling marriages. Hey, that may as well be eugenics in disguise. But him, along with a bunch of other eugenicists affected by the Holocaust, went quiet and did not speak about how the genocide affected their views. The genocide gave rise to new critics. Eugenic critics pointed out flaws in their experiments in overly simplistic application of Mendel's methods while also pointing out their racist and classist biases. Here is a nice graph of sterilizations in Washington, and here is when the Holocaust started. As you can see, after the Holocaust, the rate of sterilizations went down drastically. This shows the overall aversion from eugenics which came into the sentiment of eugenics due to the association with the genocides, but most sterilization laws won't be repealed until much later. Science has found and the law has recognized that there are certain types of mental deficiency associated with delinquency which are inheritable, but the state does not contend, nor can there be any pretense, that either common knowledge or experience or scientific investigation has given assurance that the criminal tendencies of any class of habitual offenders are universally or even generally inheritable. Who said that? Mr. Chief Justice Stone. Harlan F. Stone was nominated to be Chief Justice by President Roosevelt in 1941, just a year before the time this quote took place in the case of Skinner v. Oklahoma. This case was known to be a case that greatly weakened the outcome of Buck v. Bell. Someone who was on the upholding side of Buck v. Bell had switched to the opposing side, also showing newfound knowledge of the eugenic critics which had risen in numbers since the Holocaust. The Supreme Justices were becoming more informed on the critical side of eugenics as time passed through the Holocaust. Let's take a look at what Joseph Desharnais has been up to. He had been removed by the medical board in 1943 due to his autocratic leadership method. However, his staff had defended him. The fact that he was presumably fired due to something which his colleagues defended him for paints the intentions of the board in a different light. Subsequent to the peak of genocide during Operation Reinhard, the views of the State Medical Board of Virginia had changed and wanted to disassociate with the eugenics movement, thus removing the avid admirer of the Nazi, Desharnais. A success which these events have brought forth is the Human Genome Project. Daniel J. Kelvs, a Princeton historian, writes that after World War II, scientists, having realized their data supporting sterilization was riddled with biased and false data, had fought by large and successfully to emancipate human genetics from such biases in order to establish it as a solid field of science. He continues to state that as a result of realizing these mistakes and using more advanced technology, the Human Genome Project was set into action, allowing for more accurate research without biases. This research is now the most fundamental truth of human eugenics today.